can be mortal.
Woo! Welcome, Mere Mortalites, to another
back.
episode of the Mere Mortals Musings. Live here, Juan. When are we? 2nd of February.
Second of Feb.
Slightly latish,
Correct.
9:38.
A little bit late, yep.
And as you might surmise, this is the Mere Mortals podcast, the Musings, deep conversations with a lighthearted touch, effective philosophy. We talk about some of the interesting things that are going on in the world, our interpretation of these events, and how you can apply them perhaps to your everyday life and things like this. Today's topic is going to be about scammers and scamming.
Scams.
And this is related to two things from last week. One was I didn't have time / forgot to include two portions of my long rant, I guess, about the impending crypto AI bubble that I think is going to happen. I actually didn't hear much feedback on whether people disagree with that. Is there going to be a bubble? Is there not? I don't know. What are your thoughts, Juan? Is there going to be one?
By what?
A crazy run-up in prices of things related to crypto and AI
Yes,
over the
there
next
will
6
be.
to 18 months.
But I don't necessarily think that there's going to be a pop.
Okay.
In exchange, that it will just be a.
Oh, you've got a super cycler over here.
I think it'll be. I think it'll be a case of there will be a run up and there will be a horizontal jump to other impending AI related things, but are not just purely the chatbots that we're seeing today.
Okay. All right. Interesting.
Yep.
Interesting. Horizontal jumps here. No,
Yes.
no,
Yep.
no,
Yeah.
no poppings and fallings.
No popping.
So there was a section on scams that I'd taken from that book, and I didn't forgot to talk about. I decided to move it over because Peter was asking about Hosky and some of the scam behavior, perhaps that's in there.
I think we need to talk about that straight up. I think we need to talk about have the mere mortals been scamming the mere mortalites at home with Hosky? Would it be considered scams the fact that you've talked about Hosky so much? Given that it's
No.
would you say technically is it a scam?
I actually didn't do the research. Did you research up what technically is a scam?
The definition of a scam,
yeah.
I can do so very quickly.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind doing that. If I had to go off the top of my head, I would have said it is kind of fraud and false promises would be what the definition of a scam is. That is what in my head. And in that case, I would disqualify Hosky from that because I think it makes it very clear and obvious from the get-go and everything that is said that it's going to zero and it's meme and it's meant to be for fun. So
true.
That is what I would argue. But
Okay. I asked it to give me a fun definition. A scam is like a magic trick, but instead of amazement, you're left with an empty wallet and a bruised ego. It's when someone convinces you to trade your money, trust, or time for something that's either fake, worthless, or never existed in the first place.
Okay, well, by that definition, if you call convincing by straighting state up that it's, I don't know. Where'd you get that definition from?
That's just like some definition that I got AI to give me. I can give a normal definition.
Yeah. See, here's what I come up with. A dishonest scheme, a fraud, a swindle.
A scam is a deceptive scheme or fraud designed to trick someone into giving up money, personal information, or resources under false pretenses.
Yeah, so a dishonest plan for making money or getting an advantage, especially one that involves tricking people.
So let's go back. So look, I would say the Hosky isn't because they have stated outright that it's going to be worthless, like zero. They're like, our hypothesis and plan and roadmap is zero. It's going to be nothing. Don't expect anything. If you're going to call, and I guess this is where I'd say, so we're giving you an example of what is a scam and not a scam, and then we'll get into maybe more details. Similar thing was with Tim Ferriss's NFTs with Cock Punch. He stated to everyone, hey, when this NFT comes out, if you want to buy it, all the proceeds are going to go to the SciFi Foundation, right? That's one aspect of it. 2, he is making no promises about it, no expectations. If it goes well, that's on you. But he said, treat it basically as if you were having an expensive restaurant meal and you want to just support and be part of whatever it is that he is doing. If he wants to do it, awesome. If he's going to stop doing it, fine, he'll stop doing it. So again, he's made it very clear what the end outcome or the output of whatever he's doing is. He's not trying to maneuver or place some other idea of what's going to happen in its place. So if you really realistic for me, I go, that in me doesn't see like Hosky is a scam as much as Cock Punch NFT from Tim Ferriss is a scam. It would then, though, this is the middle ground that we can talk about, it would feel scammy if I was sitting here saying, oh, you know, the Cock Punch NFT, they're talking about doing this or that, and it might be great. You should get in there. That's scammy behavior, because I guess I'm promising something to occur with either maybe not a backing or more of a hope. Same thing with Hosky. Now, if we were talking, so just before the podcast or when we're looking around, Hosky is its lowest point that it's been since it was like at a really, really low points. We could sit here and be like, well, you know, it was high on these conversations. I think that's when it would start becoming a scammy behavior, if that was the intent of the conversation.
Okay, so we're only allowed to talk about it if it's above its previous
highs. If
Lows.
there's no basis, I guess if there's no basis, right? Like if there's no, where there is a basis and when there wouldn't be a scammy behavior, and we're talking financially, but you can apply this to loads and loads of places, would be Tesla as a stock. There's financial analysts out there who are sort of saying, oh, look, this could get up to $2,500 per share, $4,000 per share. That would make Elon Musk like a $3 trillion net worth, something crazy like that. But that's like a 10x multiple, or whatever, 8x multiple from what it is today, something roughly around that. But when you look at that, there is basis. There are reasons as to why it might do that. Yes, they're pushing hardcore in the AI practices in the autonomous driving and a whole host of other things underneath the Tesla banner. So there's basis, there's reasonability, there's predictability, perhaps, behind some of those, depending if you think of it to be true or whether they're not going to reach it. Okay, there's factors that make it not scammy in that way. So I think it's dependent on how much maybe proof, evidence, backing, all these sort of things happens to be for a particular. Again, it's financial, but you could say this on fitness perspective. If someone says, I can get you to drop 8 kilos in the next 8 weeks, and in order to do that, you can do
learn a language in 3 months, fluent.
Yeah, all of these sort of call-outs. And again, if the result at the very beginning is known not to be met by the person who's either selling or imposing that on you, then yeah, absolutely, that's scammy behavior. Yeah. So it's the falsity of the claims, I think, is what really distinguishes something from it. So if you're going by your first definition of persuading someone to exchange money for something worthless, then a lot, and worthless is a hard definition because nothing is truly worthless. I believe values in the eye of the beholder. So if one person in the world values, whatever coin or whatever thing, then technically it's not worthless. But I would, in many ways, just go look at something like what Trump put out, the Trump meme. I don't know what was promised with that. Did you ever read the thing? I didn't either. This is one of those ones where I think what Peter was getting at was a lot of these things, even if it's not on its very surface, the scammy behavior. So Hosky, for example, they can still contribute to things which are scammy behavior, such as if he has given tokens to a centralized exchange, and then the exchange is pumping the token saying like, you got to buy this thing, like it's going to go up in price, like advertising it and things like that. That is scammy behavior, and you're kind of supporting it with the thing that you've created. And and I think that's a good point. That's one I hadn't really considered before. I'm generally not a fan of attributing fourth, fifth-hand effects to personal responsibility, i.e., just because I buy a packet of cookies in the supermarket and that company is, going from
the plastic that they're using is depriving some, South Peruvian guy of water because Nestle is connected with this thing. That's way too far responsibility chain for me to personally feel guilty that poor guy. I shouldn't buy that cookie packet because of this fifth chain reasoning that's going on. But if it's second order, yeah, you know what? That's something that I do feel a bit responsible for, or I would say there is some responsibility there. So I'll actually probably talk with Hosky Token because I'm planning a chat with him this month, and I'll bring that up and ask what goes on behind the scenes with these things. How does he feel in terms of that responsibility, if that is indeed what's going on?
I'll take it back to the original one because there might be maybe people sitting at home, there might be a later claim that Hosky is a scam. And I guess I was trying to think about it through it. In my example that I said with the story of Tim Ferriss and the NFTs there that he was doing, the intent matters for what you are placing forward, because it's also a kind of a point of view between the individual, the entity that places forward the request or the asks or what you're putting on offer, and then the person who's consuming it. So here I'm putting myself in Tim Ferriss' shoes. If he both said that this is, again, going to be just for fun, don't take it as an investment, nothing like that, but then underlying that, the actual genuine behavior or the mindset behind it is like, oh yes, that's what it is, then even if the consumer picks it up and they're thinking, oh, but it could be an investment or it could go down or whatever it may be, say as much as you want that it could be a scam, you could have a lens towards thinking about that. But the genuineness is what was an offer, what was also, it was said to be exactly what it was, but it was also an intent, like the underlying intent was also the same, so it matched. Some people out there, now I'm not saying this is true or not, but some people out there could say, well, yes, there's this asset, this token, Hosky being offered, and they're saying it's going to be $0. Like, don't think about it, anything. The query out there though is, yeah, but underlying that, and is the real intent for it to be zero, or is it the reverse psychology behavior that actually we do want it to make a ton load of money and then we're all going to be happy about it? I don't know, you've talked to them obviously more than I have. I say part of it is still more the fun and the community than it is like the token getting anything.
Well, the whole point of it, and this is where you can have legit fine behavior that perhaps is in an overarching scheme that is scammy. So if you have a MLM, multi-level marketing pyramid scheme going on, you could be chatting with some dude who's coming to your house and he is all-in believer. He doesn't realize it's a scam. And so his intent, his behavior is what I would say is in some manner ethical. Like he is doing what he thinks best. He believes in this product that he's selling to you. Perhaps it's some gadget that will revolutionize home cleaning or something like this, or it's just really, really cheap product that claims to work really, really well for years and years and actually will fall apart within a week. That guy can, I think, genuinely sell you something, not realize he's part of a scam. You as the consumer get scammed out of something, but the direct interface that you've had is with someone, and then it's the actual level above. And so in this case, I would actually say one of the reasons and probably the main intent that Hosky and Vegas, the developer, created the token was one, it turned out to be, as usual with meme coins, it was a bit of fun. Hey, I want to test this thing out. Can this work? Holy shit, a lot of people are acquiring this. And then they kind of were like, well, what can we do with this? Well, let's help try and decentralize the Cardano blockchain. And that's what they've been doing with these stake pools and only allowing single stake pool operators and things like this. This is where you could go, aha, Cardano's a scam. That's the end effect result of this. You're helping participate in a system which is scammy, i.e. it's a shitcoin. Cardano is a shitcoin, etc., etc. I don't personally believe that. and putting everything in black and white like that, I don't think it's helpful particularly.
No.
So yeah, it's my personal just opinion. Let's wrap up Polsky so we don't keep
True.
on
Yeah,
talking
yeah,
about
yeah.
it. I don't think it's a scam because one is stating up front what it is, and there is, from what I can see, a lot of efforts to enforce that as well. So in the Discord, price talk is not allowed. Or if you do, you get mocked, and you're like, it's going to zero. The price is zero. We need more zeros. That is the overarching theme that's going on, and it's not like, oh yeah, we'll just have this on the surface and then secretly in the cabal meetings or in the underlying, like, wink wink, nudge nudge. I haven't seen any of that, and so that's why I'm still comfortable talking about it. I think it's still super funny. I love the paradox of going to zero, but sometimes it does actually jump up in price and you're like, what the fuck? And I'll address those other secondary effects with them when I get the chance. Okay. So yeah, that was that. Have you ever been scammed one? Have you ever felt the full force of a scamming?
Yes. I guess this
you want to share with us?
I've talked about it like in the. I can't remember if I talked it fully on the podcast or not, but not too long ago. It was just before Christmas.
Oh yeah.
Unfortunately, there was a game that my sister had requested as a present from me for her.
Okay, no,
so I was like, I'll go and grab that. Went through the link on the website. It looked kind of legitimate, kind of too good to be true, and I guess. I don't know if we'll talk about it too much in this podcast, but spotting a scam, there was definitely the.
Well, I got scam signs, so we'll.
Okay. So there was a couple of scam signs. It was definitely too good to be true. There was certain call outs about the website where I was like, I can't. There's no real way to contact or no like direct link to message or whatever it may be. I went through and purchased this particular pack, and it said that it had shipped certain things but not the others, and the email looked a bit scammy. Now by this point I'd already purchased it, so there's nothing more I could do. A couple of weeks later goes by and I'm like, hey, where is this present that I bought for my sister? And I attempt to go and track it down. I see the website gone. Website's gone. The emails, like, you can't go to any tracking or anything. So I was like, man, whatever. Fortunately, in that particular circumstance, I was able to go back to the bank and put in a claim for like a scam, basically, and they were able to give me the money back that came through.
Yeah.
Fantastic. However, there is another part to the story because a few days before Christmas,
the game arrived.
It arrived.
Yeah.
It arrived. So it actually arrived.
So Juan's the scammer.
So technically I got the money back for this particular product. So did they scam me, Mere Mortals? Well, I guess in the end they did, because this particular game, this Game Boy thing promised that you could play 15,000 games. And if you see the videos, you'll see ads for it sometimes. Maybe if I'm talking about it and you're listening to this, it'll pop up for you. Where like the graphics look fantastic. It looks really solid. It's nothing like that. It was the cheapest piece of plastic. It had a lot of games, so not as many games as it touted to be. It was just real old school games. And I did give it a go, and I saw my sister playing it as well. And the buttons don't exactly work. Like, it does move, but sometimes it's janky and it'll kind of move it around. So yes, we ended up getting a product in the end, but no, it wasn't what we expected. So let's just say it's 3/4 a scam. Like, they scam you in a way that they got rid of the website and they give you something, but it's not a great something. Very, very closely tied to that though, we also purchased a jumping castle for our daughter as well. We in fact paid a couple of extra dollars for this particular, again, like a link through online, an extra few dollars, just because we liked the shape better than a Kmart one that was being sold at the time. So rather than the trusty one, we went with that, and that one never appeared. Again, same thing. Website disappeared. The bought email thing didn't work anymore. But again, we were able to reclaim the money. But that was like a full scam. That was definitely a full scam.
Okay, I thought you were going to tell the story of the missing gardener, which...
no, I've talked about that one before, but...
Yeah.
There's plenty of other stories as well where that's happened.
Well, I'm actually thinking Juan's the scammer here, and that this guy will actually come garden your place sometime and then realize, like, oh shit, Juan took a put a claim in for this money as well, and it's never.
They get the money, but no.
So I've actually had something similar once where I bought something. Was meant to be for Christmas, so I bought it like a month or two in advance. Arrived after Christmas. By that time, I personally was just like, whatever. I got scammed. It's $40. I'm like not gonna even bother to try and get any money back. Ended up showing up, and it's like, oh shit. Well, there you go. They actually did it. And the other main one was when I was in Mexico, and I arrived in Mexico. I didn't know the conversion rate off the top of my head. Silly. I should have known. I caught a taxi, and I ended up paying in Mexican pesos instead of US dollars, and I would have known in US like I was being overcharged. Ended up being like, I can't remember what it was off the top of my head, but I probably paid like 80 or 90. It was either Australian or US for what should have been like a $20 or $30. Right. So I paid 3 times, 4 times as much because they scammed me with the exchange rate by falsely promising that the exchange rate was XYZ when it was actually something ABC. So those were the only 2 instances that I can really recall of, and all other ones have been, I don't know, is it scammed in a relationship if someone says they're going to do something and they don't, that's false promises.
That's different, I guess, because
it's not about money. I think it's mostly about money.
No, because there's other schemes. I guess you could. It's what you define it again. If the intent is always that it's going to be different to what you actually put the offer to be, then it's a scam. Again, so in a relationship, if your partner said, "Hey, honey, I'll come pick you up from the airport. Don't worry about that. You don't have to get a taxi or whatnot."
Yeah,
but they never rock up, and you do have to get a taxi. But her
that's not a scam.
No, but her mind was, "Oh, I'm not going to go pick him up." Like if that was the underlying thought,
that's not a scam. That's just them being a dick to you. I think it needs money. I think it needs money.
Let's put it this way: there's going to be a profit on the other end. Then, so it doesn't have to be money, but there's going to be some sort of profit on the other end for the
or time,
individual entity, like something, money, time, assets, some sort of other value.
Sure. I'll trade my time for doing this.
Yeah, maybe that's a better way to put it. Yeah, that's a better way to describe. Because one of the things, so I was thinking, what's a non-financial scam? Because what came to my mind was education system.
Okay. Yeah.
In a way, right? Because if you think about the original introduction of the education system as we know it right now, I'm talking about school system.
Yeah.
That was set up and introduced in, late 1800s, early 1900s, more so for industrial revolution style, so that kids and people would be able to transition from that, hey, sit, listen, learn, follow rules so that you can go into industries and go and follow suit with that. Look, you could make a claim that it's changed now to what we are today. And I have heard people say, well, the education system is a scam. My only thing though is, but who's profiting?
Yeah, that's a very loose definition. Yeah, that's getting into like everything's conspiracy theory.
The other one though that you could spin. Again, depends on where you sit in it all. Is the 9 to 5, the rat race? Is that a scam? In that, who might be profiteering? Maybe business owners, maybe large corporations. In that, having a lot of individuals be in the 9 to 5, one takes away people from running other businesses that might lower the cost of goods because there's less competition. There might be more control over the contracts that you have. I guess in the way that I've seen them as well. I've worked normal full-time jobs and more so contracting jobs. And I guess what people don't realize is, generally a full-time job is still just a contract. It's just one that doesn't have a particular end date, but you can very easily find yourself with an end date on some of those contracts. So it's same realistically in different parts. But that's what I was like trying to, in my mind, some of those have been called out as being scams. I guess it just doesn't have a clear line of sight to, but then who's profiting, or who's the scammer then doing that? Or it's just have we gone down the path that the system has evolved and it is a scam, but we're kind of like scamming ourselves of it.
I think broken system is a better description than scam.
It's scam,
those sorts of things. Yeah. So, yeah. All right, let's jump into the...
No? Diamonds. and marriage and engagement. That one's like a scam. That one I'll call it out. It's got to be a scam.
That's pretty close to one. Yeah,
that's one. The Beers family. I could go and look at the exact details, but
I think they own
generally
90% of the diamond trade.
If I get this right, before the 1900s, so before that, if you were to get engaged and whatnot, you didn't give each other diamond rings. It was generally just a ring, or it was like a promise necklace, something similar to that. But it was around that early 1900s where the Beers family went, hey, massive advertising run to be like, hey, diamonds are a girl's best friend. And from around that point onwards, they were able to kind of pursue hey, if you're going to get engaged, you have to use a diamond. And of course, they were profiting from that ridiculously so. And from then on, started the movement of if you want to get engaged, it's diamond.
Once again, that's not a scam in the sense that they're giving what they promise, which is good feelings, women enjoy this, etc. Well, I mean, look, advertising, this is getting into advertising, another pet peeve of mine, which is, maybe this is all just rooted to that experience I had deep in my childhood when I watched this video, this advertisement, this game. It was kind of like Doctor, but in a circular rotating UFO type shape. And you had to pick out these things as they came past you, and you play with your 4 friends, and everyone's having the time of their life, whatnot. Bought it, $40-$50, which was a lot at the time still was a lot at the time, but especially for a kid. And I just remember being like, this is the lamest shit out. None of my friends wanted to play it. It was just awful. And I felt like I'd been scammed. I'd been promised a good time by advertising. This is why Karen hates
advertising. Yep, that's it.
I'd been promised a good time. I exchanged my money for this, and I did not get the said promised good time.
Unbelievable.
So this is why advertising is it's not obviously not 100% a scam, but it's got some pretty scammy behavior. Let's jump on to the Boostagram Lounge, and then we'll talk about some of the actual scam signs, perhaps the aftermath of what can come from being scammed as well. Yep. So did we have any this week? I'm trying to recall off the top of my head.
There was one yesterday. Yesterday there was one.
Oh, yeah, that was Mr. Cole McCormick.
I'll call that one out. So it was Cole McCormick. Bubbles are meant to be blown bigger. 1,111 sats using fountain. Should they
the one blowing?
Bubbles are meant to be blown bigger. I'm assuming referring in terms of the bubble from a financial perspective.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I don't know if they're meant to be. They will be blown bigger. I don't know if they're meant to be. It's up for debate, but gets very much into can you ever stop out financial bubbles? From what I've seen, governments have tried through experimentation just over the course of history of letting them run, letting them not run, clamping them down, trying to keep some sort of control of them.
But I mean, generally,
they always seem to just occur no matter what. So
but generally governments will run in a way of, hey, we will expend more than we really have and put ourselves into debt because they want innovation to produce enough income that then it will offset the debt that they're sitting in. So, I guess you could kind of say in that regard, generally governments will put themselves in a position where they'll spend more now so that they can get a better promise in the future, and that might include letting bubbles run because letting it run would mean more innovation or more growth in that perspective?
I don't think that's how they view it. As if you ask the average government employee or the person making decisions like that, I don't think that's what the thought that's going through their head. I think it's usually related to just other factors related to other parts of the economy or things like that. Okay. I doubt that's what
the direct.
That's not how I describe it. From it. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, let's jump into some of the scam signs that I noticed throughout the book, Devil Take The Hindmost, Edward Chancellor. Here's a couple of things you'll see. A lot of virtual signaling. So the betterment of sending a portion of money to charity is also a great marketing strategy for associative goodwill. Let's look at the effective altruism of Mr. Sam Bankman-Fried. He used that as a smoke screen, and it's just the most hilarious one because he wasn't even doing it at the moment. I'm going to make all this money, and in the future, I'm going to give it all away. It's that's the most just... I don't know how people ever thought that was associating that with effective altruism and saying like that's a rock solid idea. Like that's so dumb. We saw a lot of shares given to notable people, so it's kind of like respectability, bribery, or forced skin in the game, if you want to call it that. This is actually where Hosky actually ticks one of these boxes, because they did give me a bunch of Hosky right at the start. So that is something. So airdrops, for example, to known crypto wallets will kind of give the respectability of Vitalik, like, oh, he owns this coin, so this sort of thing. American and Japanese politicians did a lot of this in their days, of having shares given to them, and then therefore it's like, this person owns this, and you'll even see it with one of the things that I've seen recently is a lot of Donald Trump's picks for cabinet or something. It'd be like, this guy owns Bitcoin, or this guy owns blah, 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 as if him owning it now makes it more respectable in some sense. Yeah. Technology moves slow, and so when you're seeing claims of revolutionary technology doing XYZ, diving bells, burglar farms, fire engines were the ones in the 1690s of patent companies being like, this is the shit, like this is going to change the world, like this fire engine, this thing. You can see that a lot with crypto projects where it'll be like claiming 20k TPS with base rollup, ZK snarks written in the Move language. A lot of, if it's new and shiny, it's very hard to determine value of a lot of these things. And so when they're saying, we've got all of this stuff, or we're going to have all of this stuff, it's gonna, in the future, you see the people confusing future value for present value and getting that awfully wrong. Purposeful vagary, so hiding of finances, movements of money and especially that being portrayed as a good thing. It's like this person.
Well, that's like the Bernie Madoff,
it's like the mystique or aura. You could say like he's just got like no one knows how he does it. He must be a genius, or it could be like no one knows how he does it. He's actually doing some really shitty behavior behind the scenes.
I was going to say, that's like the Bernie Madoff Ponzi scheme, where he basically ran a fraudulent investment fund, promised high and consistent returns, but instead of generating the legitimate profits, he was using the money from new investors to pay the early investors to create that illusion of success, and then get more money to be able to pay off the other people.
Yep. And one of the things that you can actually notice with a scam, and this is getting towards financial bubbles and these peaks and troughs, is if you looked at his investment returns over time, it was just up and to the right, like a nice linear curve of payouts over time. That does not reflect financial markets at all. The exuberance, the ups and downs of the news, of the whims of humans is what, funnily enough, categorizes something that's not a scam. You'd think like, wait, if it goes down 90%, that's surely a scam, right? But no, it's actually, if it goes down and then can kind of go back up again in the future or rebuild itself, i.e. many of the stock companies, I think it was Bitcoin, I think is the only asset which has gone down more than 75% 4 times, but Apple and some companies like that have done it 3 times before. So, it's one of those ones where it's like, if even like these $1 trillion companies having these massive falls, it doesn't mean they're a scam, even though they lose a lot of their paper value. So a game with no losers. So these Japanese Zytec companies were paid to borrow money, aka the negative interest rates that were happening then, due to issuances of bonds and dollars switched to yen, which would depreciate over the loan. So swapping a dollar liability for yen liability made money. There's portions of this book where I'm reading it, I'm trying to understand. I'm like, I don't know what just happened then, but it sounds like you just created money by creating money. It's so silly. And then the last ones here was it doesn't matter the product. So you might enjoy this one. They were selling stock related to Australian trade, right? In the in the I think it was like in the 1820s or something. Or no, sorry, it was even before this. It was 50 years before Captain Cook arrived in Australia. They were selling stock related to Australian trade.
Good.
So they knew Australia existed, obviously, because the Dutch had found it previously. But
before it was even like come and colonize.
before there were any people there, really, they were selling stock related to trade. They could be doing this on salt properties, mines, fisheries, insurance, shell companies, bubbles. One of my favorites was fictitious emerging market loans to non-existent countries. So this guy created this country. He was like, this country's like amazing. It's going to have all these awesome things. This was in the 1820s. And the country didn't even exist and people were buying into it. So I don't know how to categorize it. You said you're too good to be true. When it is, how do you categorize too good to be true? Because you can have crazy, ridiculous shit happen. Bitcoin, in a way, is too good to be true. How can something rise by however many percent it has over the years and being the best financial asset in history by far in terms of like the quickest, yet it's not a scam. Like Bitcoin's not a scam. So how do you differentiate between the too good to be true and revolutionary technology that actually is going to change the world?
Yeah, and I guess I was just thinking when you were saying that, like, let's say life just, history goes down this path and Bitcoin ends up being $0 in 12 years' time.
Okay.
Because some new tech comes out, busts maybe the cryptography that comes out of it. It's just obsolete now because of something else, and it goes $0. I don't think that then still means that it was a scam ever. Like that doesn't then imply that, this reached no value now. It's worthless. We had all these people saying, like Michael Saylor, go buy this because you have to. Yeah.
Was Blockbuster a scam because it's
bankrupt
as a company?
Yeah. So I think that time domain is, again, that's where it's got to fall back in line of, if you are presenting an offer and what you are presenting, or the offer that is presented, underlying that whoever or the entity that is suggesting it or putting it forth truly believe that the value you're going to get is what they are suggesting, then I don't know if you can call it a scam in that particular way, where, very clearly, like the Bernie Madoff Ponzi scheme, that's a scam, as in he's telling you one thing, but that's not what he's doing. He's doing something completely different to try and provide the illusion that is happening. Can a scam be a good thing? Christopher Columbus. Did you remember Christopher Columbus from back in school?
Well, I don't think I ever learned about him back in school, but I am aware of who he is as a historical figure.
Yeah, historical figure. That whole thing about circumnavigating the world or going to America and doing certain things. In the 48 Laws of Power, there's a couple of stories of him. Now, technically, like, is this called scamming? He just outright lied about who he was to the particular queen or the king at the time to get the funds to go do it. So he was a, like in most history books that you read, he comes from a particular highly successful family with navigational skills. All bullshit. All complete and utter bullshit. He didn't have that at all. He in fact came from something else, had no clue how to navigate. Most of the he was the captain of the boat. Most of the people on the boat were the ones who knew what the hell was going on. He had no clue about navigation, but he sold himself really well to the kings and the queens at the time to be like, hey, give me money. I can go and do this thing. I'll be really persistent to go do it, to eventually go ahead and take the fleet to go and do whatever he needed to do. Failed, came back and then did it again to actually succeed. So you could say this dude was scamming the heck out of the kings and queens to give him the money. Be like, oh, you give me some money so I can go do this. Sure. Knowing full well he doesn't even know how to do it, to then go and apply it. Maybe historically you could look back and be like, well, kind of glad he did, because obviously there's some progression beyond that. Maybe someone else would have done it, but could you call that a scam? Like he was scamming them for sure, but is that a betterment to society and the human race?
Yeah, I think outcome is what matters more than intent in these cases. So I'll be stepping over on legal precedents here in some regards. So, because motive is certainly a factor when it comes to things. But, if someone's wants to murder someone else, and then the murder doesn't actually pan out. They miss the shot.
True. Yeah.
The effects of the punishment that is meted out is not the same. So the outcome obviously matters in a lot of these cases. So let's say Bernie Madoff had had this money. He was spending it on lavish shit, on the cars and the women, on the boats and all this stuff. Let's say he'd done this, nowadays, maybe like 30 years later. He buys some drugs on Silk Road or whatever, and he actually accumulates a stash of Bitcoin. And as it's like getting towards, popping zone for him, his Bitcoin stash is actually rising in price. And so he's actually starting to manage to pay people back. And he's like, oh shit, I've actually got I can actually pay everyone back. And let's say he then does decide to. He did scam them all in terms of what was promised, but if he paid everyone back and just got lucky as fuck, I would not count that as a scam, because the outcome was that he didn't actually rob people of their finances, their money. So I think there are certain circumstances. You could probably think of prospectors promising, I found this really amazing deposit. I just need some money to, get these equipment or tools, and we'll start excavating, working on it, knowing full well there's no good deposit there. And then they actually find one and they luck into what they've done. I don't think I consider that a scam.
Well, see, I would consider that a scam. I think because it's not the outcome, but the intent at the beginning that would have mattered. So there was an example of this, again, I think it was late 1800s, early 1900s, where these two, can't remember what their names were, but these two individuals, they basically went to the richest, wealthiest Americans at the time, like the Rockefellers and all these other people. And they were like, look, we found this great mine out in this random place in the USA. You've got to come see it. They got a couple of people out there. They took the rocks, looked at the gems that come out, and they were like, holy crap, this is amazing. Mm-hmm. The company, Tiffany & Co.
Yeah.
So this was back in the day when it was I guess it was already started, but the lady, Tiffany itself, they got her to assess some of the gems that were coming out from this, were all of these super wealthy people. They were like, no, we don't believe it. We're going to get this other independent person to come out. These two guys were like, okay, cool. Sure, we'll take you out here so you can assess it. Took them out, gathered up even more gems from this area. They were like, this is the most insane deposit we've ever seen. They verified it with Tiffany to be like, oh, yeah, this is all good. So then right at the very end, these two guys were like, well, we want part of the fucking opportunity here. Give us something like a percentage of whatever money you make. And these rich people were like, nah, fuck you. We're going to just pay you out. You can take whatever it was, $1 million, $5 million at the time. You take all the money, and they were like, oh, whatever.
I guess,
okay. They leave. And of course, when they go there to start digging up, there is no gems.
They'd just been planted on
what
the
they'd be
surface,
doing was just planting, and then they got an advance for money, which they took to England, bought more gems, brought it back.
Nice, yeah.
Hid her around. Now, let's just say in that circumstance, they did dig up the ground and they found lots of gems. That's still a scam.
Yeah, okay.
That's
no,
in their mind, they've still
you,
scammed the money out of them, even if luck played on their part.
Sure.
So in
it's
the
just a foiled scam, perhaps.
Yeah. So in the Bernie Madoff's piece with the Ponzi scheme, it's even if he had lucked out because, let's just say, someone died and gave him $100 billion out of luck. Okay, it's still lucky that you were able to, but you were still lying. Yeah, there was still lies in that you were saying you were getting all these returns. It's still I do agree some parts of the output or the outcome do matter, but very much the intent of what's going behind it does matter as well.
Yeah, and this is why white collar crime is so hard to prosecute, because it's was this person intentionally doing dodgy shit with this company, putting funds in risky investments and things like this, or were they just incompetent? And it's really hard to be able to get into the minds of these people. And this is why a lot of times they're relying on emails and direct links between people. And this is where they'll have a brother who's the majority shareholder of some subsidiary company where they give a contract to and the contract falls through, but they put all their money in it. And it's like, well, look, there was a benefit that was made financially. It was a second or third order to someone, an associate or someone you know, and there's likely that money is being funneled back to you. But unless we have proof of that funneling of money or these direct linkages, it's very hard to prove that this company did something really bad in the sense of lost a lot of money or made a really bad mistake. But, you know, how are you trying to find out, was this a scam? Was this a fraud?
Yeah, it's hard.
Or was this just incompetence? And
unless it gets found out, like unless you get like picked up and get the details out of it, how is it, like, are you really going to know? Something else that I came up on socials was, I don't know where it was, I don't know the details of it, but all I remember seeing was this guy got off any jail time or any issues that was going to come to him because he had, I think it was that he had raped a lady, right? But he'd gotten off it because his lawyer had successfully put through that he was he had sexsomnia, which it's a type of parasomnia, a sleep disorder, where the person engages in sexual behaviors of every kind while you're sleepwalking or you're sleep deprived, etc. So how do you prove that is like true? Are you scamming the system? Like, have you found out like, oh, you look like you're a stressed guy? We could say it's sexsomnia, and that you were doing this out of not your own will, but you were sleepwalking and you did this while that occurred. Again, I don't know all the details about the system, the case here. What I'm saying is, say something like that. How do you find out if someone's actually scamming the system in that regard, right? Against like laws, because it's very difficult to go and prove it beyond the shadow of a doubt that, oh yeah, that's what happened. You know, even if the person has that, was that actually what caused that to be the effective as well? So yes, there's probably, you know, we just talked about how we've been scammed before in the past, and we talked about some examples. I reckon there's countless other places where we've probably been scammed, but we just didn't even know about it.
Oh yeah, that's probably true. Yeah,
Right.
the legal systems, I mean, that's what the whole legal system's trying to do, right? To prove intent, prove that the action was premeditated, or, you know, in the cases of like manslaughter, is a bit different, where it was like, okay, a bad thing happened, but you didn't mean it for it to happen, but still, nevertheless, it happened, and you had some culpability in it.
But like little examples as well that would exist in real life. Like you get shirts at 100% cotton. What if they're 96%? You know, it's 4%, but it's they're scamming you, so it's a little scams. Protein out there, like protein powder.
Oh yeah.
You know the percentages. It says it's got this much percentage of protein and this many grams of protein. But I can't remember the amount or the percentage of them. But a lot of them, when you actually run it through like full analysis, it's not actually protein. It's a combination of a few things that they can call that it's protein, but it's actually cheaper substitutes that you can technically say it is, but it isn't in fact protein.
Yeah.
So you're getting scammed of what you think it is, but I guess not, because no one's pursuing it in any particular way, or you'd have to go and do some real hard digging and analysis of your own. But it's still, you're getting scammed probably in multiple ways in everyday life. You just don't know about it.
One of my favorite recent ones that I heard of was this, it was just a headline, like, man facing court after 52 instances of faking heart attack in restaurants to get out of paying. And then like, well, the best comment below was like, this man has the opportunity to do the funniest thing ever. Just
Heart attack after the fucking court case.
That'd be so funny. Just someone like all in on their scam, just like, oh no, it's a genital heart defect.
Damn. Yeah, that's what I mean. These are all things where it's like, you know, how do you go and prove these things?
Look, there's there's one scam, sort of a scam, which happened related to extremely fat people, which was Nicocado Avocado. So he was posting videos which had the implicit assumption, and this is like, there's times where there's implicit assumptions, which in the fairness of what is expected behavior probably should be stated, but in this case wasn't. So in this case, he was uploading videos and it was assumed these are recent videos of him doing mukbangs, disgusting mukbangs, when he was however many kilos. I think it was 300-ish or something like that. He then posts a video showing him super slim, lean, back to a normal sub 100 kilos, and was like, I fooled you guys. I tricked you all. That's not actually me. And he's playing it off as this mastermind. Extremely manipulative. That dude is legit fucking bonkers. Did he scam people? But a lot of people were like, holy shit, he got me. So it's like, we enjoy being tricked as well. People were tricked with their time, in a sense of watching
it. Yeah.
Yet there was like a nice aspect to it. So you can have like scam-like behavior that actually is a surprise. It's something that you enjoy. That's not exactly a scam, but you know, it's getting close to the borderline. It's
the word. I think the definition of scam is hard. I think at the beginning when we were talking about it, there's a lot of it that has to fall in the line of financial, because when you start talking about the human aspect of scam, it becomes messy. There's a lot of messiness when it comes into humans' expectations, what you assume is a scam, but maybe it's played well for others, like in the 9-to-5 or education system. Just because it doesn't work for one doesn't mean it's for everyone. So it's hard in that perspective.
You asked about, is there scams that are good in some certain sense? So there's this guy called Binance Stuff on YouTube. And I found him recently, and I'm actually kind of into these real scrappy YouTubers right now. Okay. People who make, honestly, they're kind of videos reminiscent of what I'm creating, just with like the webcam at home. It's and having like the pictures on the screen. It's kind of scrappy. Like, it's not a full studio. It's not perfection to the T. And so he makes these ones where it's like just him in his like random house and little picture on the side, and he's usually doing stuff, showing stuff on his screen. And he showed this one, which was about the recent Flockers debacle one. You heard of Flockers? No, you wouldn't have, because it's just the scammiest, stupidest shit, like meme coin, whatever it is. I don't even know. Like, it's dime a dozen. You will find hundreds of these if you wanted to. This dude just picked on this one. Anyway, nobody could claim their tokens, and then there was things like, just send a DM to the dev. He'll set you up. Just absolute the stupidest
garbage
shit. But what he was noting was it was a snake's nest of scammers. They were all congregated in one place because this basically this thing, the way it marketed itself was it was like a scammy for scammers in essence. So it was another one I mentioned recently. You'll see on YouTube, people are asking like, can you help me with my wallet? It's the seed phrases lists off 12 words. And then if you actually check it, sure enough, there's $100 of USDC or something in there, but you need some ETH to transfer that out. And so if you put any ETH in there to transfer it out, there's a script that'll automatically just take it, and your ETH is gone. And so it's kind of trying to get scammers, because if someone's asking for help and they're putting a seed phrase and there's money in there, it's not your money. You shouldn't be taking that. So it's kind of scamming a scammer in essence. So I think there are, and this is getting to like the vigilante justice, the serial killer who only kills serial killers. Well, he's still a bad dude, but he's certainly not as bad as the people that he's killing. So there's levels to this game. There's levels to the scamming game. Yeah.
Because I guess when we in this whole conversation we haven't specifically stated out that scamming is bad or good.
I love scamming.
Like we did say, like, it's scamming for a good. We're always talking about the end result, or like the person who's consuming the scam.
Yeah.
But
my meta philosophy is lying is bad. So in this case, yes, scamming falls under lying. So
yeah, okay. Even if you're lying for a good reason,
we won't get too deep into that. But
it's hard. Look,
lying by and large, 99.9% of the times
is a bad thing.
Is bad. Will lead to bad results.
I think I'll summarize it for me on this perspective from scams. Try to avoid the obvious signs that lead to scams financially. Otherwise, there are some that are going to be hard to pick for sure, but at least avoid the really obvious ones. If there's quick money, quick gains, quick whatever to be made without the certain amount of effort or pain that is generally required. Obviously, be aware of that. And I'd probably say more so question if you want to, I guess, from what we've been talking about, question the intent. Like, why is this person or entity doing what they are doing? And generally, if you're not paying for it, then you're the product. You're paying in some other way. So
yeah,
think about that.
Yeah, I'd add onto that the time that I got scammed for both the online one and in person, there was something in my gut that knew something was wrong. It was like, this is weird. Like, why did that person behave like that? Obviously, it's more obvious after the fact.
Of course.
And so, there's a bit of hindsight going on there. But there are times when you can feel things. I always advocate, have your money locked, secured in the most, in the way where you're the most comfortable with, where if it did get taken, you could legitimately say, like, you'd still be wrecked and mortified and maybe have really bad outcomes in your life. But if you can in your own head say, I did everything that I could, like with the knowledge I had available, that was
the
what
best
I could do. So for a lot of people, that's just going to be leaving money in the bank. Very poor financial decision in terms of inflation and what's going on and how your purchasing power is being decreased. But if you don't know about investing, if you haven't put in the research to find out about XYZ, I think that's probably the best way to avoid scams. And then it's like, as lame as it is, you got to do your own research. The only reason I'm very comfortable being all in, is almost essentially all in on crypto, is because I've done so much fucking work on learning about Bitcoin and learning about these other things. So,
but again, though, if it all went to zero,
I'd feel comfortable. My security practices, for example, I've got, I think, is probably the best that I can manage with the resources I have available at the moment. And so if everything got taken, I'd be like, well, that really sucks and that really hurts. But I wouldn't blame myself for, I should have known better. I should have done better.
Because everything that you'd done the research for pointed in a direction that it wasn't going to be that.
Yeah. Nevertheless, that's why scams still suck. And it still, even though maybe in my mind I'll be like somewhat justified and not beating myself up over it, it'll still really hurt. There'll still be a lot of bad consequences for my life if all my wallets got drained, for example. So, I think we'll leave it there for today. There was something, I've been watching some videos on financial delusions, particularly the GME stocks and Bed Bath & Beyond, BBY, if you've heard of those before. I reckon those will be kind of fun to get into next week. And it can also tie into the aftermath of what happens after a bubble purse. That it didn't really fit into this episode, so I was like,
financial delusions and bubble burstings, bubble bursts.
Yeah.
We'll finally get into what Cole was talking about. We'll talk about what happens when the bubble gets blown a little bit too far.
Yeah, and then what happens afterwards.
Good. All right. Well, we'll leave it there. Mere Mortals Musings.
Yeah,
Once again, this is a value for value show, which means you can
contribute time, talent, and treasure. Time, share the show with someone, give it a like, subscribe, comment, all those sorts of things. Talent. Is there anything you'd improve on the show? Anything you'd love to hear about? We want to know your thoughts. Have you been scammed in some sort of way? Reaching out via any of the social media platforms, and then meremortalspodcast.com/support for treasure.
Correct.
And there's a PayPal link down below as well.
And there is no scaminess behind it. We're very direct about, it's value you're sending it back from the value that we're giving you.
Yeah.
So simple as that.
100%.
Thank you very much for listening in, Mere Mortals, for those who have been doing so live. For those who are listening to this later, you can obviously join us live 9 a.m. usually on a Sunday time. Any comments at all?
Yeah, I'm just going to try and bring it up. No, that's it.
Yeah, so we'll leave it there. Thank you very much. Be well wherever you are in the world. One out.
Going out.
Ciao.
Bye. Give me your money.
Bye.